Hey, and good morning, and welcome to this episode of the Vision Alignment Show with Brian Wagner, and I am your host for today and most every day, but you never know. Some days we have other hosts that come on. Wow. This is the show where we all begin to see how important it is to recognize that we all have blindness in our lives. So if we can recognize our blindness, if we can see our blind spots, if we can sometimes put on those blinders and focus on our vision, and other times maybe take those blinders off and see what else is around us, then we're going to be able to be so much more productive, so much more happy, so much more successful. All those things are going to be enabled. We've got some great guests coming on, and I really want to talk a little bit also about this weekend. So my three kids were here this weekend, and I'll tell you, it was phenomenal to have them all here, and for them to just get along so well. There's times where certainly they get on each other's nerves, but for the most part, it was great just being there and hearing them talk. It's so fulfilling and gratifying as a dad. So that's important. I'm hoping you had a great weekend too. If you would put in a hashtag live, if you're listening to this live, if you're listening to this in a replay, put in a hashtag replay. So I'll do all those things. And as always, just keep sharing this video out with as many people as you can think of. We've got some great guests coming up for you this week. It's going to be phenomenal. So, but I'm not going to tell you about those guests that are coming up at the end of the week, but after today, until the end of this show. But for today, I want you to know who our guest coming up today is. He is a guest that is one person that really knows his vision, and he knows how important it is that we all have blindness in our lives. That gentleman is Mr. John Hanson.
Hey, Brian.
I'm great. How are you, John?
Oh, I'm excited to talk with you. I love the idea of vision and blind spots, and talking about, all those things that help bring greater vision, and also help kind of reveal to ourselves those blind spots we have so that we can have greater vision.
Yeah. Thank you. So tell me, John, what is your first recollection of knowing your vision?
Twice. Once in 2017. And then again in 2019. One was business, professional. The second was personal. But together, the synergy of those two realizations have been a launching point for what I now clearly know. I have clarity of what I need to be pursuing, how I had the greatest value to others.
Awesome. If you want to hear more, stay right there. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Glad to be here, Brian.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So you talked about 2017. You talked about another time. If you would, please tell us your story, and I'll go away for a little bit, and I'll give you the screen.
Well, that's very kind of you. So it started with, as corny as it sounds, 2017 with a New Year's resolution of all things, where I resolved to spend less time in front of a digital screen, even though I'm doing now, but at night before going to bed, spending less time in front of a digital screen and more time in front of a book, a physical book. I love to read. I was new in business to business sales, B2B sales. I knew I had been strong in every place where they measured it, in the customer satisfaction, customer service, and customer experience. So I thought, how do I leverage that strength into having record-setting sales for this company that I just started with? And I always set my goals high. I set stretching goals, big, hairy, audacious goals, as Jim Collins calls it. And so I want to reach these goals. I want to beat these goals. I want to be the best in my company in this territory, even though I'm brand new to this. So I took out every book I could think of on the customer service or the customer experience, and I read those books. And as I was reading them, it was like one light bulb after another of, well, I did that. Well, I also did that, or I did that. And I thought, what if I could create a resource for frontline agents or managers of frontline agents so that they can have access to all these tools that I used, that these industry leaders used, so that they could have a great experience. They could earn top scores. So I started an LLC. I started writing a book, and 18 months later, I published a book that's available on Amazon that sold copies around the world. So that was my first vision, where I understood I could have that kind of an impact in people's lives.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. It was a light bulb moment that was a big paradigm shift for me, where I thought, well, I'm going to write a book. And 18 months later, and thanks to Brian Tracy, I took his self-publishing workshop. He was so kind to not only engage in that, but he said, if you take this workshop, I will personally endorse your book when you complete it. And sure enough, he did. So it's smack dab there on the back cover of my book.
Wow.
A recommendation from Brian Tracy. So a lot of credit to him on that, because it took 18 months, but I got it done.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Very
So that
cool.
was fun. The second one was personal. I was at a publishers club in Columbus. It was back in May of 2019. It was fairly new, but there was this 87-year-old lady, a wonderful lady. And she, as soon as she saw me, she said, I need to talk to that young man. So she came up to me and talked to me and said, I believe that I've been gifted with helping people understand why they were put on this earth. I thought, okay, seemed a little weird, but I'm new to this group. I want to engage. And she said, all right, I want you to just think for a moment, close your eyes and think for a moment, and tell me the first word that comes to your mind about yourself. It's like, okay. So I did that. First word, encourager. That's where I realized that I have been created to encourage. And encourage simply means to infuse courage. It means to add courage into people's lives. And the way you do that, not falsely, flattery builds people up in order to get something in return. Encouragement is identifying what is true in someone's life and building them up on that truth, infusing them with courage so that they can achieve their best off of what is true in their lives. And so the combination of those two, the customer experience, and I have a world unique definition, because I've been in summits across the world. I'm the only one that has this definition of customer experience, of who a customer is. That combined with being an encourager, personally, professionally, for businesses. Now I have a clarity about, here's what my vision is, and it's encouraging the customer experience. And that has several different platforms, but that's the gist of it. That gave me clarity.
I love it. That's very cool. And so for our listeners out there, please, like I said, share this video out with as many people as you can. That would be great to make this community larger. But also, if you would, put a picture of you winking in your timeline. When you wink, the idea is not to make fun of me. The idea is to begin to think, well, if this guy next to me, if this guy, me, knows what makes him unique, and it's not my eye, then what makes you unique? So we all want to understand what we have. Obviously, John understands what makes him unique, but we want to make sure that you are beginning to think about what makes you unique as well. So please do that. And you're going to be entered into the raffle to win a free copy, a signed copy of my book. Sometimes it does take a brain surgeon, but also I want to make sure that you tag me on that picture. So you're going to be, that way you'll be entered into the raffle. So that's John. That's a little bit of what we're doing here. And, I'm just so happy that you're here to join us.
Well, yeah. And that's so exciting about being a part of what makes us unique. One of those things that I really drill into people when I have an opportunity to add value in their life, almost like in a coaching perspective, is I really try to start off first with how incredibly unique every single one of us is. Meaning that out of the 7+ billion people in the world, there is only one of me. There never will be another one ever in this time in history. There are lots of people with the same name. There's a matter of fact, even a famous one with the exact same name as me. And I'll talk about who that is at the end of the show, just as a little teaser. There is somebody famous in our American history has the exact same name. I'll share who that is. But even that person, they can have the same name, but they are never and can never be exactly you. You are the only one that will ever be Brian Wagner at this time in history in doing what you're doing. So if people can understand how incredibly unique they are first, that there's no one else like them, then, well, what are you really good at? Because you're so already highly unique. What have you been gifted with? What experiences in life have you gone through and overcome that have enabled you to be in a place where you can add value to others' lives? Because if it's just about you, there's no opportunity to add to others' lives. There's no opportunity to impact people's lives in a positive way. And so I know that your show I appreciate so much about that, is it's designed to add value, to impact other people by using the platform you have that's incredibly unique.
Yep, that's it. That's it. Thank you for that, John. You know this very well.
Something I learned.
Wow, you're doing great. So, John, let me ask you, what do you think your biggest factor for your success has been?
I would say it's my love of learning. As long as I can remember, I've loved to read. My parents infused that in me, though. So it wasn't that I just started off naturally like, hey, give me a book. And my parents infused that in me. But I've carried it out throughout my whole life. And reading is one of those things that also tied in with the love of learning. I always like to discover what's new, how else something can be done. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten less closed-minded and more open-minded to, well, how else can it be done? What does that person think? Involving others, collaboration is incredibly powerful. So is synergy. Synergy is a multiplication of effort where energy is just one. So energy is good, better than having none at all. But synergy is multiplication. It's like compounded energy. And when you have synergy through collaboration and through brainstorming, those things, creative, collective learning, that's a multiplier. I would say it's that love of learning. And that seems to also be what highly successful people attribute to their success, is their love of learning from others, from reading, from never being satisfied. It keeps you young, keeps your mind active. So I'd say it's that.
That's a good answer. So there's so much to be to have going on, and you always have different things you're trying to work through. There's different obstacles you're still trying to overcome. What is it for you?
Well, believe it or not, it's lack of awareness. I came into the best opportunity of my life 2 steps after being redirected by COVID, and I'm sure a lot of people can identify with this. 2020 was a curveball, like of astronomical proportions out of left field that just knocked a lot of us off our feet. But I consider it to be redirection. It didn't feel like that in late March of last year, and it took a few months, but I ended up in this. That's the best opportunity of my life. The challenge we face now is not that we're really good at what we do. The biggest challenge I face is just lack of awareness. Like so many people out there that are really good at what they do, or their company is really good at what they do. It's that not enough people or businesses know about them. So if you've got great culture, great leadership, great opportunities, and great people, then of course more businesses, more people want to work with you. They just don't know who you are or that you do that. So the biggest challenge we face is not enough people know about us yet.
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 So what's the best way that you know of getting people to know about you?
Oh, we talked about this just briefly before the show kicked off. I am old enough to remember before there was an internet, before there was Google, before there was, well, and then it became internet with dial-up. You know, you could hear it dialing, and
Yeah.
we are in a world where I can talk with someone literally on the other side of the world and then engage with them and collaborate on a document while we're working on it together. That kind of technology is mind-blowing. So it's about leveraging the technology. The downside of that is there's so much noise. There's so much you have to sift through for people to be able to get to you. So what you're really trying to do is how do you make it easy for people to find you? And the best way to do that is to have content that adds value, that's not pitching, that's not sales all the time. You do need to sell yourself occasionally, but I would say like 4 in 1, meaning out of 5 days in a week, be adding value, educating, sharing something across as many platforms as it makes sense for your business. And then once a week, telling about what you do, testimonials, rather than features and benefits, how you've helped, how you've benefited, how you've brought impact, how you've changed. Those things are helpful. Those things, especially testimonials, are very powerful across platforms. So I started aggressively doing this back in 2019, where it was evident that the current role I was in wasn't going to be a good long-term fit for me, and I might need to take my side hustle full-time. So I started aggressively networking in person and online. And if you were to Google my name, now because of all the work I've done across platforms, I'm usually 6 or 7 out of 10 first page Google results. If you do my John D. Hanson, you'll be able to find me in so many different ways. Well, your business needs, or you, if you're an individual, needs to have the same kind of results by being across platforms, adding value, doing it consistently with content that's interesting to others. So that's what I would say.
What's the latest piece of content you put out there that has taken off?
Interestingly enough, it's polls. Every Tuesday on LinkedIn, I put out a poll because I want to know. I've grown my LinkedIn family to over 23,000 people, and that's international. And so I like to hear from them on topics that are usually customer service or customer experience related, but I like to know their opinions. And I usually get thousands of feedback, not necessarily votes, but thousands of views. And this last poll that I had last Tuesday got over 100 votes. So that's a really good response, but polls seem to be the most engaging.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can I maybe I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you remember what your question was in the poll?
Yeah, I was asking about when they make a buying decision on brand, is it name brand all the time, sometimes, item specific, or rarely? And what's interesting is that people would make brand choices. The leading answer is that they do it often, which I thought it would be brand specific. That's how I am. I'm on certain items, brand just makes a difference for me, but not on 90, 80% of what I buy. So, but what I'm seeing that's leading in this poll is that people do it often. They find value in a brand. So what that communicates to me is that your brand absolutely matters. Jeff Bezos of Amazon said that your brand is what they say about you when you're not in the room. We all have a brand. Whether you're an employee, team member, owner, entrepreneur, doesn't matter. We all have a brand. So what is our brand? It might be good to find out what are they saying about us? Because if you don't know what your brand is, you think you know what your brand is, that can be a blind spot, a huge blind spot. You really need to be aware of putting yourself in other shoes and trying to get a vision for what are they seeing? What are they experiencing with you? What is your brand in reality? And trying to close the gap between what you'd like it to be and what they're experiencing.
That's good. So do you know what your question or your poll for this week is going to be?
No, I don't yet. Oftentimes my content is super fresh like that. I know people usually have their content like planned out for one day and then they schedule it out. Now I know what I'm going to be talking about every day. Like every Monday, I share a review on a book. I usually get through about a book a week as I read and take notes on it. So then I provide those cliff notes every Monday. Tuesday is Poll Tuesday or Testimonial Tuesday. Sometimes I'll do 2 posts a day. Wednesday is where I share someone to my whole LinkedIn family where I had an interview or a conversation, or I really was just fascinated with what they had to say. And so I share them with my entire LinkedIn network. Thursdays is Thankful Thursday, where I share something I'm thankful for. And then Friday, I love this one the most, actually. It's Affirm a Friend Friday. So I take someone that I know personally and professionally in my network, and I encourage them publicly in front of my entire LinkedIn family, and encourage others to join in and affirm them as well. And it's been remarkably received, where I've had the opportunity to engage people from all around the world in this, of just saying thank you for being a friend, and here's why you're a valued friend to me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you read a book a week?
It's about a book a week, depending on how in depth the book is. Some I just devour because the writing style is easily read.
Mm-hmm.
It's more insight and less application.
Mm-hmm.
But I just started so I have a stack of books about yay big on my desk, literally. So this book I just started into, Multipliers. Oh my gosh. She has studied what makes a leader a multiplier and what makes a leader a diminisher. And I'm just 2 chapters in. Fascinating. So I'm constantly reading. That's the best part of my job. Is every day I'm in the office, I start off with reading at least a chapter, sometimes 30 minutes of reading a day. Sometimes I can get in a little bit more if I get a good head start on the day. But the one that's coming out, I have a book review coming out today. So your listeners will get a sneak preview. It's Driven to Delight by Joseph Michelli, where he lays out the game plan of what Mercedes-Benz USA did when they had that slogan, the best or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all customer experience. How do we make Mercedes-Benz USA the #1 brand here in the US? And he just laid out the game plan. It was a fascinating book, and it applied to not just the car industry, but you could take that and apply it to any business of any size. How do you be the best? Fascinating book. So that's what the book is going to be today. It's going to be posting here in the next, probably after our conversation.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's impressive. So you got Monday is read them off again, the 5 different days of the week.
Yeah. So Monday's a book review.
Yeah.
Share with my entire family what I'm reading, what I've read.
Poll.
Yeah. Tuesday's a poll, and sometimes Testimonial Tuesday, where I also share the good things. So this is the one thing that I talk about us, where I share the impact we're doing for our clients across the lines of business that we have here. Then Wednesday is introducing someone. So Welcome Wednesday. I share somebody that I got connected with my entire LinkedIn family, usually from the earlier in the week or the last week before. Someone that I was super impressed with, that I want others to know that they probably don't, helping them overcome their lack of awareness. Sure. Then Thankful Thursday, what am I thankful for? Can be a simple thing, can be a massive thing. And then Friday's Affirm a Friend Friday.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I know what I'm talking about, but very rarely do I have it planned out for a whole week. I just like to keep it fresh that way.
Huh. Wow. That's impressive. I love it. I love the pattern of what you go through. So,
it helps me give that structure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I need to do something like that myself. Tell me, what's the next level of success look like for you?
I'm going to mention a book, surprisingly, right? Shocker. He mentions a book. Who Not How. Who Not How by
Who Not How?
Yeah, by Dan Sullivan. There it is. So I'm going to be speaking your language. That was a huge book for me because it helped me understand that businesses that scale. I'm also starting another book called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. It looks like a college textbook. It looks so dry on the cover, but I'm not even through the forward yet. And it's been one insight after another. He profiles gazelles, businesses that scaled and stayed successful, like Starbucks, Apple. There's a few others that just scaled and stayed. Like some, they never scale. Some scale and then fizzle out, and some scale and stay consistently successful. And he profiles how they did that.
Hmm.
Well, who, not how, helps me identify the very best way to scale is not by looking at processes or how you do something or what you sell. It's who. Identify who your key pieces are, who the next key people you need to add or develop internally that you already have access to, so that you can then take that next step of growth, because you cannot scale on your own. Impossible. You want to scale, you have to identify who the key people are that you're going to add to get there. Yeah, that's what I would say. Next level of success looks like that next key person that I want to add, that I can develop and mentor and train and coach, that takes a line of our business and just runs with it. So I'm more of a equiper or coach, and they're the ones growing that arm of business.
Wow, that's
I want that across our arms of business.
That's good. That's good. So how do you, and through all this, how do you stay steadfast?
Written goals. It's in my first book that I wrote, and it's going to be in the second book too that I'm working on right now, is written goals. Study proved it. I think it was University of Kansas study showed that if you write goals, they're 30% more likely to be achieved. Written goals. So I keep them in front of me. They're always in front of me on this bulletin board right next to my desk. So I see them every day, consciously and subconsciously. The subconscious is an amazing supercomputer where if you don't have it in front of you, and I make them very specific, and I make them time-stamped, the SMART thing, specific, I can't remember, measurable. Yeah, achievable, something, and time.
Realistic.
Yes.
Time sensitive.
I like to stretch that R. I don't like realistic written goal. If I'm going to write it, I want it to be something that if I don't make it, I still succeeded massively. I want it to be, if I hit that stretching goal, awesome. But I won't be disappointed if I only hit 80% of it, because I'll be 80% towards a goal that was fantastic. It just pushes me harder to create and innovate and work that much harder. To some, they want a goal they know they can achieve. To me, I want something that stretches me that I might not be able to make, and that's okay.
So tell me, can you tell us what one of your goals are?
Sure. So my goal, I want to add 3 full-time people to our organization so they can take each arm of our business and grow into 2022. So by the end of this year, I want to add 3 full-time people that are all revenue generators. So there'll be a sales role or a business development role. I want to add by the end of the year 3 full-time people.
And that's part of the company that you work for, right?
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm the first one in this revenue generation side of the company. I want to triple us or quadruple our impact at the end of the year. Yes.
Huh. That's awesome.
Yep. And we're committed to the growth to add those people will come from those arms of business growing. We're not going to add salespeople to bring in the revenue to pay their way. We already have the increase in revenue to add each person. So we're scaling based on actual growth, not on projected growth. So it has to come with whatever business I bring in and develop. Then we can grow that enough to where we can add a full-time, and then us together add another full-time. So it builds on itself.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
The snowballing momentum effect.
Yeah. So you got so much going on. What do you do to recharge?
Well, reading is one.
Yeah.
Another thing is I take a whole day off. I do no work on that day, 1 day a week, where it's me and my family. We'll sleep in, we'll go out and do fun things, or we'll just relax at home. But it's unplugging. I do that 1 day a week, every week. That's a huge one for me, because when I look back at the times that I didn't, while I could do all that, I just noticed that my attitude at home, at work, I'm able to give so much more to people close to me and to my team and to my company and to my goals if I take that 1 day of unplugging entirely from work. So that's been I think the biggest one that's helped me recharge.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. I love the idea. I don't do that enough. Actually, I did that this weekend. So we had kids.
There you go.
So yeah, we were able to do that this weekend, but normally that's a tough one.
But when you've got a lot going on, it is tough.
Yeah.
But I found that by committing to it and sticking to it, I got that much more done and enjoyed getting it done. And it was with better quality and relationships by setting aside that one, just not gonna do work today.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, John, our time has flown by.
It always does in great conversations.
That's incredible. So tell me, how can I serve you? Is there a way that I can promote you or do something here on this call where I'd maybe run a little blurb for your book or the company you work for?
Actually, you know what would be most exciting, what I'm most excited about, and there's going to be an announcement coming out later today, an official one, is that I signed with a public speaking agency based out of Dublin, Ohio, of all places. I connected with this gentleman just a month or so ago, and I'm the first one in the entire stable of speakers. There's about 180 to 200 speakers who's an expert in the customer experience. I'm the first one for this agency. And so what I would love for people to know is there are 3 topics I touch on: customer service, customer experience, and they are different. And then a third one, which is winning at life. And that's the subject of a second book that I'm working on right now that will be coming out this year. But those 3 topics, if you are in charge of an event or know someone who is, I've done both virtual and I love to do live events. So what I would encourage people to do is terrificspeakers.net. That's the speaking agency, the Public Speaking Bureau International. That company was so kind to bring me on as a speaker. And so I am eagerly looking for the opportunity to present live or virtually to conferences, summits. That's going to be the most thing that I'm most excited about, because that will give me the opportunity to overcome that lack of awareness by being on stage, by adding value. And I love it. I get such energy from it. So that would be super helpful. If people are looking for a speaker or know someone who is, I would love to talk to them.
Yeah. So reach out to you or go to terrificspeakers.net.com.
I think it's .net, but you can find a link to that. It'll be on my LinkedIn profile. Okay. There's so much there on my LinkedIn profile. That's the easiest place to go because that's where everything is. That's going to be added to my profile today.
Awesome. And so so we can talk about that after we get off. But yeah, so I'm going to send you to the green room, and I'll close out the show. Is there anything else you want to leave them with, our audience?
I would say this. You need to get the book, Linchpin by Seth Godin. If you read that book and that's who you are, figure out and never settle for until either as an entrepreneur or as a team member, you are at a place where they understand, appreciate, and value you as the linchpin you truly are. There are so many of us out there that feel like we don't fit in the box, where I didn't just get hired on to sell stuff if I'm in sales. I'm on to make this company better. And I see more and more people being aware I have more to add to this than just what I was hired for. Get that book, read it. And if you're a linchpin, be constantly looking for, how can I be a linchpin and what organization can I be a part of that values, that's looking for a linchpin? That would be my last piece of advice.
Linchpin by Seth Godin.
Yes.
Awesome. Very cool. I love it. Thank you so much for being on today, John.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Brian.
Absolutely. Now hang out in the green room, and I'll be. And there's M&Ms and plenty of stuff in there. You can make yourself to home.
I'll get a handful.
I'll be right there. Wow. What value John brought today. Oh my gosh. Incredible. Just a great guy, a great speaker, a great businessman, a great man of faith. Just so much to be thankful for with having him on today. Can't tell you how thankful I am to have him on. And then also, we've got great speakers coming up the rest of this week. So tomorrow, we have an Olympian that's going to be joining us. Her name is Sarah Wells. That you look forward to that. And I hope you can join us tomorrow, because that is going to be a great conversation. Wednesday will be yours truly. I'll be talking about blind spots and going through all that. So that is something that's important for us all to understand. And I'll talk more about School for the Blind and some stories there. On Thursday, we're going to have Kim Easton, who's a part of the National Disability Sports Organization. So that is going to be a great conversation we're going to have on Thursday. And then Friday, we'll be meeting with Keith Herman, who's another speaker friend of mine who's just delivering instant value from the great state of Florida. So look forward to having him on. And then again on Friday, John Hanson is going to be back with us. So look forward to that. And that's going to be for the show of Radical Vision for Disabilities. So that, again, that show where we talk about disabilities, but we also talk about caregivers. So, wow, what a day. This is going to be a great week. I am so looking forward to it. And thank you very much for being on. I appreciate all of you. And as always, keep one eye on the road.